Imagine an infinity symbol, but, instead of just a plain line, one half is this blazing, intense orange fire, and the other half is this cool, wispy blue smoke.
Oh, right. The illustration at the very top of the source text.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so striking because you wonder, well, how do these completely opposing forces loop around and meet without just destroying each other?
It really is a powerful visual.
Welcome to today's deep dive, by the way. We are looking into some really fascinating documents about the philosophy of Cafh. And just a quick note for you listening. So this infinity symbol, it feels like it perfectly sets up what we're talking about today.
It really does. I mean, it's not just a static drawing. It immediately communicates this constant dynamic exchange of energy. And like you said, it frames our whole mission today, which is understanding this concept of the mystical body of Cafh.
Okay, the mystical body, that sounds, pretty abstract. How does that connect to the fire and smoke?
Well, it's all about bridging that gap between our everyday, kind of messy human relationships and a much deeper spiritual union.
I see. But let's ground this a bit for the listener. How does a mystical, fiery infinity loop translate to actual people interacting in the real world?
Yeah, that is the big question. So the documents introduce two main pillars here. You have the gathering of souls and you have the mystical body.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is they actually anchor this lofty spiritual idea using grounded psychology. They quote the psychiatrist Viktor Frankl.
Oh, wow. Viktor Frankl.
Yeah. Emphasizing that we have to never forget to see the, quote, human in the human right up until their very last breath.
Wait, I'm a bit hung up here. We just jumped from a psychiatrist's very practical view of empathy to terms like, gathering of souls.
Right.
So is this just what people call a collective consciousness? Like, are we talking about blending into some sci-fi hive mind here?
That is a totally fair reaction.
Yeah.
But no, it's actually the complete opposite of a hive mind.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The text describes it as a relational consciousness. So you aren't just dissolving your individuality to serve the collective.
Ah, okay. So you still stay yourself.
Exactly. You are taking active responsibility for yourself, for the other person, and for the space between you. And there's another great Frankl concept in your notes about this.
Let's hear it.
He says, instead of just ripping pages off a calendar and feeling sad as your time shrinks, you should write notes on the back of those pages for whoever comes next. Building a legacy.
I love that. Writing notes on the back of the calendar. That makes so much sense on a psychological level.
Right.
But your text gets heavily into the actual mechanics of this, too. It claims people generate a magnetic body and a mental body.
Yes, it does.
I need some help here, because how does a human connection actually generate a magnetic field?
So think of the magnetic body as that initial emotional pull.
Like being naturally drawn to someone.
Right. It's fueled by two people, or even a group, sharing a really specific, intense desire. In this case, pursuing a spiritual path or a divine union. And because you share that intense focus, it naturally organizes your shared thoughts. And that organization is what the text calls generating a mental body.
Okay, so the shared intention acts like the magnet, and then the mental body is just the actual alignment of your thoughts.
Precisely. And this is where we hit this really fascinating mechanism called Ired.
Ired. That's a unique term.
It is. Ired is basically an invisible organizing field that emerges from that shared core. It naturally draws people in without anyone having to, enforce rules or anything.
This is completely organic.
Exactly. And when different people's personal fields interact within this, they create resonance. They meet, they communicate, but they never invade each other's boundaries.
If I'm picturing this, it sounds a lot like an experienced jazz band.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right, because nobody is dictating exactly what notes to play. But since they share the same musical intention, that magnetic pull, they create this unseen field of resonance.
Yes, exactly.
They listen, they adapt to each other's solos in real time, and they create harmony without, stepping on each other's toes.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. And the thing is that harmony is sustained minute to minute. The source emphasizes that this resonance isn't kept alive by grand, sweeping declaration.
No. Then how does it survive?
It's maintained by tiny practical gestures. a shared glance, a carefully chosen word, or sometimes just respecting a shared silence.
Which brings us right to that beautiful metaphor from your source material, the intelligent membrane.
Right, the intelligent membrane.
Because a healthy group dynamic isn't a rigid brick wall keeping things out. And it's not a sponge just soaking everything up either.
Definitely not.
Like the jazz band, it lets in what nourishes it, lets out what's finished its cycle, and it breathes without losing its core identity.
Exactly. It's a living architecture. And your text actually takes this one step further, which is wild. It notes that this intelligent membrane doesn't stop at physical boundaries.
Wait, meaning what?
It extends beyond Earth. It unites people here with souls who have passed on, forming what it calls an unbreakable chain.
Jumping to the astral world is a huge conceptual leap.
It is, yeah.
But if we tie it back to Viktor Frankl and that idea of legacy, writing notes on the back of the calendar pages, it makes total sense.
Right, because those who came before us are still part of our resonance today.
Exactly.
Which is why the text leaves you with a really practical, powerful invitation. We encourage you to try this today, actually. Take a moment of silence to remember a companion who is no longer physically present.
Just think about the tiny gestures they shared with you and how they influenced your life.
Feel that gratitude for what you learned from them. And consider this. How might their invisible energy, that cool blue smoke or warm orange fire from our infinity symbol, how might that still be shaping your own intelligent membrane today?